Hello, welcome to the second installment of the Hippocratic Diaries video lessons. And today we're going to be talking about some movement patterns and how, as we age, we start to lose some movement patterns that are very essential for helping us to stay young. And then also we're going to probably have to do a second installment after this yet, but it'll just bridge into some exercises that you can do to make sure that you stay young and loose all the time. Because when we start to get tense and when we start to lose our ability to move in any direction at any moment, that's when injuries are going to happen. So it's that fluidness of our bodies that allows us to stay young and injury-free. Also, thank you for all your feedback in the last video lesson, getting a lot of positive feedback from that, and so glad to know that people are doing it and that they're seeing results. And again, if it's something you can't do every day, that's fine. Just do it whenever you can, and I think you'll find that it's one of those health practices, the stomach massage, where it's a very minimal investment, but you get some maximal results even if you can't spend a lot of time with it. So just keep plugging away at that one. So getting into movement, basically you'll notice that kids spend a lot of time on the floor, and really it's an essential part of them developing proper movement, but also it's something that keeps them young. I think that the less time we spend on the floor, basically we start to lose a lot of mobility in our hips and our lower back, and those are the kind of things that help us that lead to us starting to tighten up and stiffen up, and basically creates aging in the long run. Most of my clients that are in their 60s, those are the key ones where I see that they have almost no hip mobility, and they're just very tight, and so there's a lot of even basic exercises I can't even give to them until we start to loosen up their hips. And so if you can consistently work at it throughout your life and keeping yourself loose and free, then you're never going to get to that point where basic things like squatting like this, you'll never get to the point where those things become difficult, and you'll always be able to move freely. So the other thing that you often see in aging populations is falling and the fear of falling, and again in the senior population, fall-related injuries are very high. And the reason that is again, they haven't spent much time on the ground, probably haven't really got down and spent a lot of time on the floor in the last 15-20 years or something. And so when you don't have that kind of contact, then you're going to have a fear response subconsciously when you start to fall. You're going to tense up, and when you tense up and you hit the ground, that's when an injury is going to happen. But if you can get yourself so comfortable with the ground, so comfortable with the floor, that it doesn't matter if you fall out in any second, then your body's going to stay loose and you're going to prevent an injury that way. So what we're going to do is to first start with some very basic ground engagement drills, and just a very simple exercise, but you'd actually be surprised how many people have a tough time with this, especially as they get older. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to work on a basic exercise, just getting up off the floor really. So I'm just going to get down, and I'm lying on my back, just completely loose, and what I'm going to do is just get up onto my feet as effortlessly as possible, okay? And then what I do is get back onto the ground, and then do it again. And how it's done doesn't really matter, right? And I know this seems really simple, but you'd actually be surprised how many people as they age have a really tough time doing stuff like this, okay? And so the idea is that you do that 10, 15, maybe even 20 times, and it just gets you used to getting down to the ground quickly and easily, which again is going to help you get more comfortable so you're not afraid of falling. And then secondly, it helps you to get back up to your feet quickly. And because we're using really deep bending movements with the hips and the knees, right, that will keep us loose over time. And just to make sure that those muscles that some of us don't use very often are staying engaged. Okay, the next step of that same thing is to do it from the stomach. So whether your hands start in front or on your sides, up to you. Again, basic idea, just getting up to your feet as quickly as possible and getting back down to the ground. And you want to move pretty effortlessly all the time. Really doesn't matter how you're getting up and down, but just the most efficient movement patterns you can do at the moment. And again, you'll be amazed at how many people have troubles with some of these basic things, especially with the core. They have troubles. pulling their upper body up. So really, just keep these movement patterns going all through your life, and find ways to integrate them into your workouts. And then, you're never going to get to that point where, as you're aging, that you can't do these things anymore. You also notice that maybe you start breathing heavy when you start doing these. And I've had clients, in their early 20s, who you'd think to look at them they'd be in shape, but you get them to do 20 reps of getting up and down off the ground as quickly as they can, and they're out of breath pretty easily. So, it's not just aging people have troubles with this. I've had 18-year-olds that can't even get off the ground from lying on their back. They have to struggle and roll around quite a bit before they do it. So what we're going to do now is move into a slightly more advanced variation of it. And basically it progresses into kind of like what we're going to do now is just take that one step further, and what it's going to be is without using our hands. Because again, a lot of us get too comfortable with using our hands and using our arms to push yourself up. And again, part of being young, you should be able to move around without depending on your arms for balance and counterbalancing you. You should be able to use it all with your core and your hips and your legs. So no hand movements, just again practicing getting down to the ground and back up to your feet from both your back and your front. Okay? Just simple like this. Okay. Right, and now the front. This one's going to be a little bit trickier because we're used to slowing ourselves down as we come forward. But again, as you play with it, you'll find some ways to do this. So. Okay. And maybe you might roll a bit. Doesn't really matter. Just the point is that you're, getting used to not using your hands, because you might end up in a situation where, it's a really tight space, or you don't have anything to push off of, or maybe both your arms are broken. Who knows? But the point is, you never know what you're going to end up in. So you want to get used to just moving with just your legs and your hips. So the third level we're going to take this to is doing an actual get-up drill. This exercise is kind of the introduction version to the Turkish get-up, which some of you may already be familiar with. But it's a very valuable exercise for building your entire body, but also just, again, making sure that you have full movement and can get used to getting up and off the ground quickly and easily. So we're going to do it without weight first, and again, if you're fairly beginner in the fitness level, then you probably want to stick with the no-weighted version initially, and then you can build up to using weights and then get up to heavier and heavier weights as time goes on. So Turkish get-up, just very basic. You're going to get onto the ground, lying on your back. Okay, what you're going to do is put one arm up in the air, and the same arm that is up in the air, that leg is also going to come up in the air, or bend that knee. So what we're going to do now is we're going to roll onto our other side, and as we're rolling, we're going to pop our arm up in the air. So we're going to punch up in the air and roll up onto our arm. Alright, so we're using, for that whole movement, we're just basically using our abs and that punching momentum that we have from the arm that's up in the air. Okay, from this position, we're going to push with this leg here, we're going to push down into the ground, and also dig this heel into the ground, push our hips up as high as we can. Alright, so now we're supported on that bottom arm, and we should have a nice straight line all the way through our body. Okay, now tuck the knee underneath, and that knee should basically come, again, right underneath my hip. And so now I have three nice areas of support, and now I can stand straight up, again keeping that arm nice and high in the air. From here, basically I'm just doing a lunging motion and pushing up with the forward foot up to standing. Alright, and that arm is still nice and high in the air. From here, I just reverse everything I just did. So reverse lunge, back down. Okay, plant the hand down. Now pushing up, I can slide that leg back out, drop my hips down, drop down to the elbow, rock back down to the ground. Okay, one more time faster. Punch up, push the hips up, slide leg under, sit up, stand up. Good. and reverse. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll move to a weighted variation. So, nice thing about this one is that even if you don't have weights, you can improvise something, right? Probably the best thing, take a milk jug or an old bleach container, and basically you're just going to, average 1 gallon container, fill it with water. If you want it a bit heavier, you can fill it with sand. Right, if you want it quite heavy, you could probably fill it with concrete mix. So, if you're doing that, you might get it up as heavy as 35 pounds or whatever. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate with the dumbbell first, the kettlebell second, and just get an idea of all the possibilities for this. You'll notice when I was doing the unweighted variation, I was looking at my hand that was up in the air a lot. Reason for that being is it just helps keep the nice tall body alignment, and it'll make sure that you're not slouching at all and not twisting in the wrong direction. So here we are on the floor with the weight, and you're just going to start pushing it up with one arm there. And again, we're going to twist to the side, punch the arm up in the air, and we're going to roll onto that arm that's still on the ground. Ready? Punch and twist. Okay, hips up in the air, tuck the knee underneath. Okay, standing up nice and tall, and then push down with the leg. And here we are. Okay, then just reverse it. And again, keeping eye contact with the arm that's in the air will help keep you nice and tall, keep you in the proper alignment. Okay, leg out, drop down to the hip, drop down to the elbow, back down, arm straight up. Okay, one more time, faster. Arm, hip, leg, standing, and back down. Okay, and tuck that down. Now we'll do a few repetitions with the kettlebell. So with the kettlebell, just a small description of the grip to begin with. If you've never used one of these, anytime you have it overhead, you really want to keep your hand in the corner of the kettlebell, like that, and it just helps it to rest comfortably on your arm. Okay, if your grip is too centered, then you'll probably start to hurt your wrists a lot. So thumb should be all the way over to the side. Basically your palm is resting nicely in the corner, and you'll find that if you have a good grip, you don't even actually have to wrap your fingers around. It'll just kind of nicely sit in the crook of your hand. Okay, so I'll just go to the ground with this. Okay, so get your grip in. You're just going to hug the kettlebell, bring it over your chest, punch straight up in the air. Okay, same leg, same arm. Alright, roll to the side, hips up, tuck the knee in, stand up tall, drive the leg out, and here we are, standing up, okay, drop down to one knee, hand down, leg out, hips down, and drop yourself down. Okay, then when you're done, drop the kettlebell to your chest and drop it to the side. So there, to give you some stuff to play with over the Christmas holidays, and again, there's a lot of different directions you can take this, but all these things I just talked about today are going to really help ensure that that you're staying loose and that you're comfortable on the floor, and that you're not going to injure yourself when you're falling down, and that you can stay nice and young and mobile. So there we go, that wraps up the second video lesson for the Hippocratic Diaries. Hope you enjoyed that, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.